Good morning, happy Monday, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Monday Morning Blitz edition of the Average Bobcast here. We're getting started because the NFL free agency season's beginning. We've seen some crazy stuff happen already. DK Metcalf going to the Steelers. Some other big names being traded as well and cut. Guys like Joey Bosa after, a pretty solid start to his career, but injury prone. The Chargers has been cut from them. But where we want to get started and talk about is this is a Giants channel, talking about the upcoming free agency options at quarterback that will start today for the New York Giants. And I'm going to keep my phone open here because I just got a notification of Panthers Jace Horn agrees to a 4-year, $100 million deal with $70 million guaranteed and making him the new highest paid cornerback. So we've seen thresholds met of people becoming some of the highest positional based players. Myles Garrett yesterday with the Browns, he's getting $40 million a year to play defensive end. Josh Allen was also made the highest paid quarterback by the Bills yesterday as well. So this is just the beginning, and teams are able to just take care of and re-signing those guys. But where we want to get started here with the New York Giants specifically is who right now sitting currently as is the only quarterback that they have available on the team that's signed is Tommy DeVito. So obviously that is a very frightening situation to be in. That doesn't bode well for the upcoming season. So to mitigate the potential risk of not winning any games and trying to just be competitive and win, it seems that there are two options that will happen over the next few days for the New York Giants. These free agent options are guys we are very well familiar with, who have been attached to one New York team. The other one has come several visits over the last few years. So with that, to bring up the first point, let's dive into a tweet or an X or whatever you call it from Jordan Renan, Giants beat reporter yesterday, where he said, as we sit here 17 hours before the start of the NFL free agent negotiation window, it appears the Giants are likely to end up with Aaron Rodgers or Russell Wilson as their free agent quarterback signings. So with that being said, right off the bat, I just want to talk about both of those options at a high level, right, between Russell Wilson and Aaron Rodgers. Their best years are surely behind them. And Giants fans immediately want to say, well, we suck. This franchise is poverty-driven. They blow. Good for John Mayer bringing in two older, over-the-hump quarterbacks. The situation is, right now, it's just Tommy DeVito. That is an unacceptable situation. So Russell Wilson or Aaron Rodgers is a marketable improvement over Tommy DeVito that can help you win NFL football games. Because winning games at the end of the day is what these teams have to do. And with that, either of those options are a better choice compared to what they have right now. Let's be completely honest there. Do either of these options get the Giants to double-digit wins? No, but none of the options over the last decade or so have either. So regardless of that, where I do fall into being optimistic, and a lot of my Giants fan friends are like, Bob, what the hell is wrong with you? Did you just watch what happened last season? Did you watch what happened in the last few seasons? Now you're going to be optimistic about Russell Wilson or Aaron Rodgers? And the answer to that is yes, because we don't have to watch Daniel Jones. We don't have to watch Drew Lock. We don't have to watch Tim Boyle. I pray to God we don't have to watch Tommy DeVito as well. But there is a plausible scenario where he might have to play games depending on these older guys that come in and are towards the end of their career, somewhat injury prone, and still playing behind the Giants offensive line that has been terrible. And if you join in and you're watching, feel free to drop any comments and we'll respond to them as we're going through it. I want to make this as, live stream and conversational as possible as we go through it. And yeah, there's pros and cons of Aaron Rodgers and Russell Wilson. Let's start with Aaron Rodgers, where Ralph Facciano tweeted or X yesterday saying, this is still just crazy. Aaron Rodgers is 41 years old, will cost a ton, is coming off 2 injury-filled seasons, and comes with a suitcase full of headaches. We also won't make the playoffs, or won't make the Giants a playoff team. So what's the end game here? 7 wins? Can they do that with a younger, cheaper way? So let's talk about Ralph Vacchiano's take there. Hey, Nicole, how's it going? Yeah, Rodgers is coming off some significant injuries. He also had, I think, Malik Neighbors is a top tier option, but in the Jets, they got Devontae Adams halfway through the season or whatever. He played sneaky well for what he had in. What's up, gritty kid? And then they also had Garrett Wilson. And all of those guys have kind of been around. Breece Hall's a better option at running back than Tyron Tracy Jr. He had better options on the Jets. I don't see where this is a plausible scenario where Aaron Rodgers, and I watched a Netflix documentary in the last week. All good, gritty kid. How you doing, bro? The thing is with Aaron Rodgers is he said in that thing he wants to go to a team that has a chance to win. I know as optimistic as I am, the Giants are still so far away from that. And they're also in a division that just had the Super Bowl champ Eagles. And Eagles aren't taking their foot off the gas pedal here. So I don't really think necessarily Aaron Rodgers does make sense from an organizational building standpoint, even to win more games. I don't think it makes sense. And I don't think it makes sense for him either. I don't understand why he would want to do it. The offensive line for the Giants, I think, probably is worse than the Jets' offensive line, which he didn't do well behind. So that doesn't bode well in his favor. He also can't run. So Brian Daboll's offense is all running-based quarterbacks, right? We've seen him get so much credit in the NFL sphere for developing Josh Allen, which, whatever. I don't know how much he actually helped there, but everyone gives him that credit on his resume. And Daniel Jones, tremendous running quarterback. Aaron Rodgers isn't that. What's up, Fishy Wishy? How you doing? Aaron Rodgers isn't any of that. They would have to change the offense completely for Aaron Rodgers for him to be successful. I don't know. The Giants have shown so far that they don't change their offense at all to cater to the quarterback's needs, whether it's Daniel Jones, whether it's Tommy DeVito, whether it's Tim Boyle, whether it's Drew Lock. The Giants don't change anything. They run the same shit. So if they're going to expect Aaron Rodgers to come in and run quarterback powers and not make any changes on that front, because the offense coordinator isn't going anywhere. Mike Kafka didn't even call the plays last year. That's how much confidence they didn't have in him. But he's coming back this year. Would he be open to changing it if he's calling the plays? Possibly, but he's not. Yeah, fishy wishy, they probably would be cooked, but we're trying to, as I said, remain optimistic here. And here's the point there. Would the Giants be better set taking a quarterback like Jalen Milroe from Alabama or Jackson Dart from Ole Miss, who really aren't projected to be first-round picks, but could be late first round, depending on their stock rising and falling? That's probably a better option for a guy you could develop. But here's the thing. If the Giants don't win 6 or 7 games, Brian Daboll will be out of a job. Joe Shane will be out of a job. So that is why these two names between Aaron Rodgers and Russell Wilson are being linked, because they need to win games immediately. Whether it's for the betterment of the franchise or not, I hope John Mara and the front office can see that. But I think that they're blind. They have their blinders on, and they all have their blinders on because Brian Daboll and Joe Shane have to win right now in 2025, or they're going to be chilling with me on the couch. The other option, we spoke about Aaron Rodgers right there. This option, Russell Wilson, has been a name that's been linked to the Giants for a very long time. Every single offseason, they spoke about this. I'll even remember talking about this back before he got traded to the Broncos. He came and visited the Giants, and I said, Russell Wilson, this is a great name who can. He's a veteran. He's won a Super Bowl. He could be a good name to come in and fit behind this team that doesn't have a good offensive line. Still had a couple of years left. Now let's fast forward here. He goes to the Broncos, signs that massive deal. They gave up a lot to get him. Blew up in their face pretty much completely. Even though it blew up and then they ended up getting Bo Nix, who's had a pretty successful rookie campaign. We could all agree with that. He looked... That first drive against the Bills in the playoffs when he had like a 60-yard bomb, I was like, what are we watching here? Is Bo Nix about to do this in Buffalo? And then the rest of the game went the way it did. But going back to then Broncos move on from him. He goes to the Steelers. Justin Fields plays in a couple games. Then they hand the reins over to Russell Wilson, who I guess had gotten healthier, gotten brought up to speed on the system, or whatever the scenario was. I forget exactly what happened. So with that, I think he went 9-8, got to the playoffs, didn't do much, but again, good coaching and a good defense in Pittsburgh was able to win that amount of games and even go to a playoff, something the Giants have only done twice since they went to a Super Bowl. Just going to ignore that comment. So where Russell Wilson makes a little bit more sense, fishy-wishy if you're still with me, here's where I'm going to get to my point about this. Where Russell Wilson makes more sense here is because he does play that style where he can run the ball. He can escape the pocket. He doesn't have to stand there like Aaron Rodgers does and needs 2, 3, 4 seconds to make reads down the field. Russell Wilson, if it's not open, they're going to be creative with him. They'll get him moving in play action, which the Giants do a lot of play action. So if it feels like a little bit of a better scheme to bring in Russell Wilson. They're both aging between Rodgers and Wilson, but Wilson has escapability and runability that Rodgers doesn't have. Russell Wilson's also played behind some pretty bad offensive lines over the years, and especially more recently. So I don't think him coming to this, again, still terrible, beaten up, oft injured Giants offensive line would be a huge step down to what he's had to do over the last few years. Again, I think if they do Russell Wilson or Aaron Rodgers, it still doesn't impact. If they want a quarterback at 3, they'll do it. But I think if Abdul Carter is there, the Penn State edge rusher, or Travis Hunter, I think you should take the best football player available who could stick around, because those guys are 2 stud football players that will be around in the NFL for a decade. And if they're not, come back here and make fun of me and tell me that I was completely wrong. And if you do join in, feel free to drop some comments about NFL free agency, or if you're a Giants fan too, that'd be awesome, because this is a Giants channel. So up to the next thing here, talking about young Giants options through the draft. Thanks, Fishy Wishy. Appreciate you, bro. Have a good one, man. And then multiple league sources left their meetings with the Giants this week, thinking that the New York Giants would trade up for the number 1 pick and draft Cam Ward from Jordan Renaud. That would be crazy, because I'm not sure exactly what they would have to give up to get that number 1 pick. And usually teams hold other teams over the proverbial coal or fire and really make them give up a lot to get there. Would you need to give up a ton to go from 3 to 1? If you really want a guy, those other front office people, general managers will do their best to get every single amount of draft capital moving forward from that, and including only dropping 2 spots. So say if the Giants want to go up for Cam Ward at 1 with and trade with the Titans, they'll go up to 1. The Titans go back to 3. They probably were more comfortable taking of a great football player like Travis Hunter or Abdul Carter. So let's talk about some other options. We spoke about quarterbacks ad nauseum at this point, and we'll do a lot more coverage about the draft as we get there. 2 options at cornerback that I wanted to touch on for the Giants is the Giants apparently do love cornerback from the New York Jets in DJ Reed. And let me be honest with this one. I haven't watched DJ Reed play too much football, but my Jets friends that are, what did I say? Why am I not saying this right? My Jets friends that are fans who hate everything that the Jets do, like DJ Reed. So that actually makes me feel happy that this could be someone that could be good for us, because they hate everything. So that's an option there, because as we saw last year, Deonte Banks cannot be successful in his role of being a number 1 shutdown corner. They changed the defense on him. They also got rid of Xavier McKinney, who was the captain of that secondary. So bringing in another veteran could be good for the young guys, also to look up for Drew Phillips, Tyler Nubin. Those guys had successful rookie campaigns last year. So let's bring in a proven veteran like a DJ Reed, or someone else like Isaiah Rodgers from the Philadelphia Eagles, who will be testing free agency, because the Eagles secondary is pretty stacked right now. And obviously, there's just not enough money to go around, especially once you win a Super Bowl. An intriguing option next to Dexter Lawrence at defensive tackle, which I would love because since the Giants got rid of Leonard Williams, there haven't been anyone else to be next to Dexter Lawrence. And it's been a huge gap, even though Dexter is one of the top defensive tackles or interior defensive linemen within the NFL. The issue there is it's just him. So they have to bring in someone else and adjust this. I think an excellent option would be someone that Giants fans have seen. They might not have noticed, but they have seen him play a shitload of games over the last number of years, would be defensive tackle Jonathan Allen from the Washington Commanders. Obviously, he usually looks good against our offensive line because our interior offensive line has been so bad. So I think that's an intriguing option to bring in at defensive tackle, veteran, and I'm not sure how much he would command, but it's just an option that could make our team better, especially, and fill that gap. I think he doesn't have an injury history as well, so that's good. Other Giants news, kind of more housekeeping stuff, a little bit boring here. And if you do join in, feel free to drop a comment about some NFL free agency or the Giants in general. The Giants are signing punter Jamie Gillan to a 3-year contract worth $10.2 million. I would assume that's over the course of the 3 years from Tom Pelissero. If you have been following this channel for a while, you know that I am very not a big fan of the Scottish Hammer. Jamie Gillan, I think he just figured out last season for the first time how to put the ball within the 20. Before that, he was absolutely dreadful and awful. And the Giants are a bad team that, it's weird to say, but a punter could be really good for a bad team for flipping field position, or even a good team, right? But when your punter sucks, that's something else that's going in your favor negatively. And the Giants, I guess, seem to think he's good enough, and they don't want to change their face. But here's the thing with Jamie Gillan that I will never be convinced of, that he is one of the best 32 players in the world at that position currently that is alive. I don't think that's true. Tommy DeVito also re-signed. He's been around for a while, a couple years now at this point, homegrown Jersey kid. The cutlets, all of that stuff, the wings that cost you Jaden Daniels, all of that fun stuff. Well, he's back. And hopefully, that story and everything with the DeVito family and the cutlets and the how you doing gabagool can just stay in 2023 where it belongs, because we need to start moving forward. But again, happy for him. I guess he doesn't have to look for an apartment or move out of his parents' house just yet if he's sticking around the Giants. A couple other boring re-signings, I just want to touch on it because I wrote it down, was long snapper Casey Kreider has been re-signed. There is some stability there between Casey Kreider and Jamie Gillan. Casey Kreider, it's a long snapper. Really, at the end of the day, who gives a shit? I'm more concerned that Jamie Gillan isn't that good at his job, and I would have liked to see someone else come in. And then that leaves the third trifecta of the special teams is Graham Gano. He absolutely has to be cut. If they don't do that, I really have a low opinion right now of Joe Shane, but if Graham Gano isn't cut, because he can't play, he's getting older. He gets hurt on kickoffs. You can't, if you're a kicker and you're getting hurt kicking off the ball, what are we doing here? So Casey Kreider's been resigned. Why did I say resigned? He's been resigned to the fact that he has resigned. Tommen Fox, an linebacker from the Giants, he probably played out of absolute desperation and needing people to play last year. Okay. And then last but not least here is tight end Chris Manhertz has also been resigned. Why do I keep saying resigned? Resigned. And people like on Reddit were talking about liking him a lot. He's like 30 something. He's like 32 years old or something. Like, he's older. It's not exciting at all, because you still have Theo Johnson coming off injury. You have Daniel Bellinger, who I don't know why the Giants front office hates Daniel Bellinger for whatever reason. And then you have Chris Manhertz, who I think he had one touchdown last year, but it's also like, it's not exciting. It's not sexy. It's not flashy. maybe they'll just use him in that run blocking role, but it doesn't excite me or make me, positive about the future of where the organization is going, which, hopefully can be mitigated with a quarterback overall because it's the most important position in football. And last but not least, before we close things out, a short 20-minute-ish episode here today. If there's anyone else who joins and wants to say anything, happy to do a little Q&A and answer any questions that you guys have. But where we're going to finish today is from JPA Football Rumors. The Giants are expected to move first-round tackle Evan Neal inside to the guard position per Jordan Renan. Glad to see that they didn't. Both sides here finally kind of caved on this thing because clearly Evan Neal, I've done multiple videos about my dislike for Evan Neal, his poor performance in gameplay. You could see that on the channel. He just doesn't have what it takes to play tackle in this league. You could watch the film. You can watch the tape. He's a horrific athlete. And in the NFL, let's just take a step back and go back to college. At 6'7", 340 pounds, that's great size for college. You can lean on people. When I was playing, it was called titty bumping. He could titty bump people, and they'll go flying because he's so big. In the NFL, you're going against tremendous athletes. And if you're not a good athlete, you can't get away with that. You can't get away with poor skill, poor pad level, and poor athleticism. Those are three things that are working against him. Maybe he's hurt. Maybe mentally he's fragile because he's been the cream of the crop, the belle of the ball, whatever you want to call it. He's been that his entire life. He went to the IMG Academy. He started at Alabama for 4 years. He has the pedigree to be an amazing NFL offensive tackle. But he's lacking something. I don't know if it's mentally or he's not coachable or what. But there's something going on with him, and I'm glad that they're cutting the cord on him ever playing tackle again, unless it's something that he could figure out later on. He'll probably go to the Eagles and they'll make him an all-pro offensive tackle at some point. But yeah, moving the guard, see what he could do. Again, I don't know how moving the guard, when you have to pull and get around people, and while he's a horrendous athlete, will make him good at guard. But he is a big body. The Eagles did it with Mekhi Becton last year, a huge big body guy. So maybe the Giants can figure it out with him. I would tell him, hey, this is it. This is your last chance. If you can't figure it out here, I don't know what to tell you. So that's it for today's show. It was a quick one, Monday Morning Blitz. Thank you guys for watching, and yeah, let's see what happens on NFL free agency, if anything big happens. I don't have any real time right now, so I could do a little bit of shorts here and there. That is quick recap of things in my POV, but long-term, long-form videos, I don't have the time for that right now. So anyway, really appreciate you all for joining in and watching, and have a great start to your week. Average Bob out.